when we first heard about the Arab Spring in Egypt, the reaction, of course, from everybody was, "Isn't this exciting? This is great. There are revolutions everywhere. Maybe it'll even happen in this country. You know, maybe we'll actually have democracy in this country." Oh, no, that's ridiculous. Say Egypt, maybe, but here, no. But we got excited. Then we saw it in Libya. You said, "Great, right?" And then I don't know. I literally woke up one night and I was like, "Wait a minute. How come Hillary Clinton, all these people are so excited about the uprising in Libya, but they didn't do anything about the one in Egypt? What's going on here?" And I started digging and connecting dots. The result was a series of articles over a year and a half. I'm pleased to say that Bill Moyers, interviewed by the History News Network, asked where his favorite sources for news. He mentioned Mother Jones and WhoWhatWhy. And he said, that's the only place I could go to get the real story on Libya. And we did it not by sending people there, but just kind of studying all of the claims of how the uprising started, the claims they made about exactly what Gaddafi had done, all of these things that I thought I knew about the bombing of the Pan Am plane. The more you start digging into all these stories, you find out that what you thought you knew may not be right. And when you read, the Wall Street Journal did a very good story about how Goldman Sachs had pulled the plug on Gaddafi because he got mad at them because they lost. Do you know this? Do you know this figure? Anybody know this? Gaddafi took their sovereign wealth fund, which is the money from basically is supposed to go to funding, you know, they have a quasi-socialist thing there where people can get housing and all this stuff. That money was invested with Goldman Sachs. Do you know what percentage they lost of that? 92%. And Gaddafi, crazy man that he is, was mad about this. And so, anyway, we don't have time to go into that. Read those articles, enjoy. Syria is much the same thing. They were the biggest buddies of the Assad family for years. Assad was a moderate who tortured and had secret police like every other country in that region, but he was a stabilizing force who was modern, who'd been educated in the West, who allowed women's rights and a modicum of a certain kind of dissent, a little bit and so forth. And then things switched at some point. And why they switched, we're still trying to figure out. We recently ran an article laying out what we think are some of the reasons that the U.S. decided, along with their allies, to go after him. And so, you know, so this all gets down to the question of, they always talk about national security and our national interest. And as you hear more and more of this, you say, well, what is our national interest? In the end, I think that if you or I worked on the National Security Council or in any of these contractors, we would basically say, listen, I know it's ugly, but the reality is here's what national security is. You want these lights to go out? You want the microphone to go out? The only reason we live the kind of lifestyles we do, with plentiful water at artificially low prices, our food is much cheaper than Europe's, is because we have a system that sustains that lifestyle. If you're willing to give up that lifestyle, fine. But that is really what much of this comes down to, that, well, what are we willing to sacrifice in concert with the rest of the people in the world to sort of fundamentally transform things? And rather than just vilifying the people who are in that apparatus, I would say we need to sort of liberate them by getting that discussion going on a more profound level, so we can move beyond that. You know, is this guy's girlfriend a pole dancer, or who's a traitor, or, you know, does Hillary Clinton have a nice new haircut? You know, to something really, really meaningful. And of course, there's money, and money is a big factor. And there are people, literally, it's not just the Koch brothers. These people literally are perfectly okay with the world ending, so long as every day up until then they can say that they're calling the shots. It's probably a mental illness. They may sue me for saying that. I can't think of any other explanation. But you know, it's a kind of a perpetuation of an elite and a security elite. And by the way, one of the biggest industries in the country is defense contracting. And I encourage you, if any of you have holdings in any big company in America, because they all have security work. And by the way, after remember the peace dividend. Anybody remember that? Anyway, a lot of people below a certain age never heard of this. There was supposed to be a peace dividend after the end of all of our enemies, the end of history, right? It was supposed to be a peace dividend. It's gone. There's no mention anymore, because very conveniently you had 9/11, and now, whoops, now we need to spend even more than we did before, and not only everywhere else, but also here. And we need bases everywhere, and there are planes, and we need, you know, we need metal detectors, and what a whoop-de-doo, what a great business opportunity this is. And so our country runs, you know, we're kind of Sparta Incorporated. We all run on this. I kid you not, I was in the toy business, and I was trying to get contracts on the PXs. You know, it's crucial. We cannot survive without sucking at that particular teat. And so we've got to be honest about this stuff. Anyway, one of my concerns these days is that all